All right, shall we get to Venezuela?
Yes.
Sticking in terms of international affairs, huge news yesterday. I mean, I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts about this. Right now, the Trump administration is basically publicly telegraphing what we did to Saddam. We're like, hey, Maduro, you gotta go. And we are building up a military campaign. We're striking drug traffickers right off the coast of Venezuela. We have a $50 million bounty on Maduro's head. Trump now bragging in the Oval Office. We are looking at land strikes directly inside of Venezuela. Let's take a listen.
The next step in this war on cartels, and are you considering options, are you considering strikes on land?
Well, I don't want to tell you exactly, but we are certainly looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control. We've had a couple of days where there isn't a boat to be found. And that, I view that as a good thing, not a bad thing. But we had tremendous amounts coming in by boats, by very expensive boats. You know, they have a lot of money, very fast, very expensive boats that were pretty big. And the way you look at it is every boat that we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. So every time you see a boat and you feel badly, you say, wow, that's rough. It is rough, but if you lose 3 people and save 25,000 people, these are people that are killing our population.
So he says there, we're looking at, he won't rule out any of the land strikes, but the reason why it pairs very importantly is with this story. Let's put it up here on the screen from the New York Times. Quote, the Trump administration has authorized covert CIA action in Venezuela. It says they have secretly authorized the CIA to conduct action against Nicolas Maduro specifically. So keep that in mind, not against so-called drug trafficking. They're saying against the Maduro government specifically. They say that he has acknowledged, in fact, that we are, quote, looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control, considering strikes on Venezuelan territory. This new authority allows the CIA to carry out lethal operations in Venezuela and conduct a range of operations in the Caribbean. The agency would be able to take covert action against Maduro or his government, either unilaterally or in conjunction with a larger military operation. It is not yet known whether the CIA is planning any specific operations, but the development comes as the U.S. military is planning its own possible explanation. So one of the immediate analyses I saw of this is that if you look at the way this all works, is this could be some sort of limited hangout thing to get in the New York Times, specifically to make, because it's the front page story. Now, maybe they just get it as a leak. I'm a little bit suspicious. I tend to think all of this is about a public pressure campaign to try to get him to step down voluntarily. Because it's one of those where, look, you know, the CIA is scary, especially Latin America, right? We have a long legacy of trying to do stuff down there. You have the military campaign, you have the boats, you have the president not ruling it out. It seems to me that this was supposed to be tough. I'm not excusing it, by the way, because I still think it's completely insane. And of course, you could still follow through with it. It seems to me, or on the immediate term, that it was leaked intentionally to try to ramp up the pressure. Regardless, though, this is a great gift to Maduro, in my opinion, because now what can he do? Every time that there's an opposition leader, CIA. If somebody tries to attack you, CIA. Just kill him, right? Like, and the people will say, look at these people, they're meddling in our government. Of course, they're trying to kill me. They're trying to overthrow me. This is like the Latin American strongman argument for the last 50 years down there. It's like, oh, it's always CIA, or sometimes it is. But in this case, what he's doing is actually making it so that Maduro can blame all of Venezuela's problems on the United States, which he's been doing for the last decade. But even more importantly, I think here is the serious, like from day one, I was like, I'm very scared. This looks regime change. And even Juan David Rojas, who we had on, he was like, oh, I don't know. It's like, could be just be like stupidity, right? In terms of it's striking the drug boats. Now, I don't think it's deniable. From the military operations to the bounty to this authorizing CIA action against Venezuela, the fact that Marco Rubio and Miller are running the White House and the Pentagon, right? So keep in mind, Rubio has somehow convinced Trump that this Venezuela thing is connected to drugs. There's not a scrap of evidence of that. It's complete bullshit, literally bullshit, according to DEA statistics. Because especially in all the interviews, they mention fentanyl. There's 0% fentanyl comes from Venezuela, again, according to the DEA. Now, if you look at what's really going on here, it could be about oil. It could be about a particular South Florida constituency, which has backed Rubio his entire life and political career. The fact that Rubio has posted photos of Maduro next to Gaddafi. I mean, this is scary because this could create a chaotic political vacuum. Even if he did step down voluntarily, who the fuck is going to come next, right? What's going to happen then? And then we're going to march down in there and we're going to back some government, like the Juan Guaido situation was humiliating. It was a disaster.
And I don't want to hear jack shit about migration from any fool who is supporting any of this. Like, you know, creating
honestly,
a failed state, like going in and creating a failed state. Like, what do you think that is going to happen there? How is that going to work? How did it work out with Syria? You know, how did that go for Europe? How did that go for the Syrian people? So, yeah, I mean, I have been trying to wrap my head, like you, around why. Marco Rubio, that makes sense. I think it's both ideological and it's in his political interest. These are his political backers. He's trying to deliver for them. He has long been in love with the idea of regime change in Venezuela. But for Trump, like, was he really convinced of this bullshit drug trafficking thing? Is it about oil? I genuinely, it's so insane to me. And then the other part that is crazy to me is, like, it doesn't seem like they really feel the need to message this to the American people. Like, I know they talk about fentanyl and they talk about the drugs, but there hasn't been a major propaganda campaign to really get people on board with the idea of some sort of large-scale, you know, covert, and they're talking about direct military options, regime change in Venezuela. So the whole thing is wild, and I think it's part of why people have struggled to take it seriously. Like, the media doesn't cover it nearly as much.
No, they don't. They really don't.
As it should, because it just seems like such an insane, bizarre thing to do. And yet here we continue week by week to track how now they're blowing up these boats. Now they put a bounty on his head. Now they're claiming that he runs this drug trafficking network. Now they're saying that drug traffickers are terrorists and you can just take military action against them willy-nilly. Now here we are greenlighting the CIA. Now here we are developing military options. Now we've masked. They say in the New York Times, they say the scale of the military buildup in the region is substantial. Currently 10,000 troops there, most of them at bases in Puerto Rico, but also contingent of Marines on amphibious assault ships. In all, the Navy has 8 surface warships and a submarine in the Caribbean. So all of the pieces are there, and you have an administration with, characters like Marco Rubio, who's one of the most powerful people in the government at this point, who's been handed all sorts of responsibility, who are dyed-in-the-wool, like neocons, have wanted this regime change forever. So I don't know, at a certain point, you got to take them really seriously that they actually intend it.
Yeah, I agree. Have taken it seriously from the beginning. It's genuinely terrifying, and it actually does fit exactly with what you're saying. I mean, actually, I'll skip ahead here in some of our elements because they're important just to show you how it fits. Put the last one up here, please, D5, up on the screen. This was a very recent visit from the top U.S. admiral to the Caribbean, actually, amid all these Venezuela tensions. Like, when you start to see the high-level, generals, the admirals, and others start to make little trips down there, for what purpose? I mean, they tried to describe it as routine, but you have this huge naval buildup. Also, keep in mind what Trump even said in that statement. Remember? He was like, we have the sea under control. Now we need the land. So he's basically describing it as taking
Insane.
setting it up for some sort of naval blockade, or nobody really even knows. Like, here we had the Navy admiral. He met with Antigua, with Barbuda, Grenada, and others at the U.S. Embassy, apparently, in Barbados, some of the Caribbean nations, which I'm assuming are near the naval flotilla that we have out there. But the point remains, like, you have 2 visits, apparently, just already to Southcom, like Latin America, U.S. forces. You have the military buildup. You have the strikes, which are happening. And then you have the CIA. I mean, you have to put it all together. I agree with you on the media stuff. I mean, we'll give the New York Times credit because they broke the story. It was their front page, and it's a great story. But, I mean, if I turn on MSNBC or something like that, what's the lead story going to be? Like, this is huge.
Yeah.
This is huge. Like, this is regime change for real.
Yeah.
Whether it comes violently or coerced, it's still scary. And then you own it 100%. Who the hell even knows? And then the bleed effect into Colombia, the entire Caribbean. There are all these Venezuelans coming here fleeing from Maduro. Can you even imagine? If you have a failed state, which it's already kind of there, but imagine a complete political collapse in Venezuela. It could destroy so much of of Latin America, which we have responsibility for. We have close allies there in the region. So I'm very, very worried about it, especially, you fit it with this Colombian news. Put D4 up here on the screen. Colombia's president actually says that one of the boats struck by the United States was actually carrying Colombian citizens. The White House has called the claim, quote, baseless. I mean, I don't know, but
But they give us no evidence.
You would assume, yeah, right.
I mean, the White House says they've never given us any evidence for any of these boats that they actually are what they say they are. We know it is very unlikely because of the nature of drug trafficking. Like it's unlikely. Now, maybe, but again, they give us no evidence. And one of the boats, reporters were able to get in touch with the widow of one of the guys who was murdered by our military. And she was like, he's literally a fisherman. I mean, they joke about it. They joke, oh, I wouldn't go fishing in that area. I mean, it's just like, that piece too, I can't put to the side. And I also want to say, part of how we get to a point where they can just blow up random boats and, and with no accountability and providing us no evidence that these are actually drug traffickers, not that I would find it acceptable. Even if they are, you're supposed to interdict them or whatever. But the reason that this groundwork has been laid is all because of the war on terror too, where you had the massive, the drone strike campaign where, no evidence was offered there, and Obama expands it, and these things become baked in to the executive power, and now you can just blow up random boats with random, fishermen and be like, yeah, we got the bad guys. You should congratulate us.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff happens, every day in the war on terror, whenever we covered it, literally all the time. It would be, I covered the war on ISIS. Everything was just on the Pentagon's word. They're like, oh, ISIS is operating an oil refinery. This is a hotel where ISIS is staying. They didn't really provide you anything. It's like a grainy footage, basically like what they did in their latest strike. We can show you D3, please, on the screen. This is all this could be anything, right?
Yeah.
This quite literally could be anything. In one of them, you could kind of see packages of something which to the eye looked like it could be wrapped up kilos of cocaine. This one there's nothing. That's all you get. Unclassified, you got a boat in the ocean, and then you have a missile hitting it. That's all you got.
In the very first one, there were 11 people on board the boat. And people who know a lot about the drug trafficking trade said, this is very unlikely to have been a drug trafficking boat because you want to have that thing loaded up with drugs, not with people. And the more people you have on board, the fewer drugs you can have on board. And so your profit is way, way less. So having 11 people on board and just the fact that it's coming from Venezuela, and this is not the Venezuelan drug boat trafficking thing is not significant. So we don't know that any of these boats were actually drug traffickers. They'll just say anything, and we'll show you in the next block the way that they'll just lie about random stuff too.
Yeah.
And completely shamelessly. You cannot trust anything that they say. And listen, you shouldn't trust anything that any government says. You should always have skepticism. You should always verify. But they've been completely brazen about inventing the opposite of the truth and just lying about it day in and day out, and then bragging about how, you shouldn't go fishing in the region because, maybe we're going to blow up your fishing boat. That's where we are with that.
Yes, that's right. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.